All right, we're talking about David Patrick Harry of Church of the Eternal Logos again. I want to play you this clip from his latest live stream. In this clip, he's going to be talking about intentional communities. Now, this guy is a newly minted, newly baptized Orthodox Christian, and he is talking with other new Orthodox Christians and older ones too, and they want to create intentional Orthodox communities throughout America. That's one of their goals. He says, we've been talking about this a lot. And one of these ways is by invasion. He wants to invade small towns with 100, 200 people. And he says, what if 100 Orthodox invaded that little city and set up shop? And let's just listen into what he says.
You send in money. Thank you guys so much for the support. I truly, truly appreciate you guys. And like I said, I will be back tomorrow. Oh, Death Culture just throws in $20. Thank you so much, Death Culture. He says, what do you think of international communities? Do you think enclaves are the future, given how things are going in North America? Ever heard of Return to the Land? Any thoughts if you ever heard of them? Yeah, I know about Return to the Land. Intentional communities? Yeah, I think that's the way. I mean, what was it? Dreer's book, the Benedictine option, or the Benedictine option, I believe is what it's called. No, I think that's the way, man. I've talked with multiple Orthodox Christians that are trying to do exactly that. Find a good parish community or move somewhere where there's a great parish and there's a great Orthodox community. This is a topic that we talk about a lot in our think tank meetings. Is how do we build a parallel system within the structures that we already have? So one of the things that we need to do as Orthodox Christians is create a database of Orthodox Christian businesses and professionals so that we can then purchase and hire each other. That's one thing. Obviously, return to the land, moving somewhere where there's an intentional community, I think that's a great idea. I know people that are already doing that. And finding people that you can trust is a huge thing. One of the things that we speculate about in our think tanks is in some of these states, a state like Mississippi, for example, there's entire cities that have sewage, towns, stores built, but nobody lives there anymore. Like there's towns that are down to like 100 to 200 people left. Imagine now if 100 Orthodox families, so that's obviously more than one per person, families move to a place in America where it's kind of like a deserted old town and basically take it over, have your own like local town mayor, your own local government. It's all Orthodox Christians, Orthodox businesses. You control the city infrastructure. And essentially you could theoretically, now it'd take time, it'd take years, but you could theoretically make a goal of like 5 to 10 years of having like towns around America that are like basically entirely Orthodox.
Okay, that's good enough. What is he talking about? He's talking about invading small towns in America that have like 100 people, but they have a whole infrastructure set up and nobody really lives there, and just making it Orthodox. Listen, buddy, people don't want you there. People in small town America don't want you there. They don't want that Orthodox church there. A lot of people in rural small town America are Protestants of one sort or another. In Mississippi, they're definitely not going to be Catholics, and they're definitely not going to be Orthodox. They're going to be probably Baptists, and they're not going to want you there. And to talk as much as you talk about, as he talks about, the invasion of the West by people from Africa and Asia, et cetera, the browning of America, the great replacement theory, et cetera, to talk about that, and then to say, hey, let's go invade these small towns in America that are basically abandoned and turn them into Orthodox enclaves. More than that, let's get a national database. And why national? Why not a global database of Orthodox people, Orthodox businessmen, so we can all get together and use each other's services and buy from one another? There are so many services that are needed in America, in the world these days, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. See, let's say you need an automotive guy. You need an internet guy, you need someone providing electricity, you need someone running the water, and he did say running the infrastructure, so I guess that would mean you would eventually get yourself voted in. oh my goodness. Intentional communities have never worked. All right? They've never worked. All these utopian communities, they just never work. Now, the Mormons, which he does bring up, he says we should make the Mormons we should take from them, not their theology, but what they did. And what did the Mormons do? Well, they went west to Utah to an untamed, absolute wilderness. An untamed, absolute wilderness, and they turned it into paradise, essentially. You know, they terraformed it, they transformed it into not a wilderness anymore. And David, that doesn't exist. That doesn't exist. There is no wilderness left in the world where you can just move there with your Orthodox buddies and set up some kind of intentional community. People own the land now. You want to go to the jungle of Brazil and set up an intentional community? Maybe how about Guyana? You want to go to Guyana and set up an intentional religious community? Wow, that never happen before in the 70s. Now, I'm not saying you're a death cult, but I am saying that these things do not work. As late as the 70s and 80s, there was an intentional community in North Carolina of black folks. And guess what? It didn't work. I don't remember the name at the moment, but there was a whole book about it that I listened to, and it didn't work because these things do not work. So you cannot take the Mormons as your model and say, we're going to go build this community out of nothing, because you live in the year 2025, not the year 1825, and it's just not going to happen. And so this is the nonsense we get from orthodoxy, right? They don't talk about salvation. They don't talk about Jesus Christ. They don't talk about grace and faith. They don't talk about any of that stuff. What they do talk about, though, is global politics and how corrupt everything is. And I get it. I understand, yes. The world is corrupt. America is definitely corrupt. It is. But their solution is the Benedict option, which I never read that book, but I know about it. The Benedict option, which is to abscond from the world, to divorce yourself from the world entirely. Basically, you're going to turn yourself into a monk with modern amenities in a big city with, a small city with 100, 200 people. It's not going to work, David. This is the foolishness of modern orthodoxy. These people are joining orthodoxy because they think it's going to make them a man. It's going to make them traditional, and it's going to tie them in and ground them in to an ancient tradition. Well, it's not going to get you to the faith or the truth, is it? No, because the Orthodox doesn't teach the true faith. They teach that a man is saved by faith, which they define as knowledge, right knowledge, plus your works, with no relation to Jesus Christ. The Confession of Disitheus says very explicitly, we are justified through faith, and they define that as knowledge, plus our works, and the idea of grasping onto Jesus Christ's righteousness and applying it to ourselves is far from all mind of orthodoxy. Faith in Christ is not in the phronema of orthodoxy. And these guys don't care about faith in Christ. They don't care about salvation. What they do care about is themselves, and themselves being divorced from the world. Like they're going to find this utopian purity. You're not going to find it. You're not going to find it. Even amongst yourselves, you're not going to find it. What was the one Orthodox community? What was the one Orthodox community that ever existed? Byzantium, right? Byzantium. Does that exist anymore? No, it didn't. And if you read the history books, you will know lots of infighting there, lots of human nature going on there. You had like the blues and the greens going at it, killing each other. They're Orthodox, but they're killing each other. You had the emperor getting mad at a priest, cutting his arm off, throwing him to exile. You're not going to find perfection here, David. You have to look elsewhere. You have to look out. You have to live in this world and not be of it. And you have to look for your salvation up in heaven. That's where your treasure is, in heaven. So this is just some of the foolishness of modern day orthodoxy. I want to stress that the foolishness of modern day orthodoxy, starting in probably mid 2010s. You have all these converts. And now it's kind of a rush, they say. That's what some people are saying. There's a rush of people, especially since the coronavirus pandemic. And they're all coming to orthodoxy because it's tradition. And they're tired of that global homo. And I get it. I agree with you guys. I'm tired of global homo too myself. But I would never be orthodox. And I would certainly never divorce myself from the world to the extent that I'm going to try to find utopia somewhere and build it with fallen, sinful humans. And that's another thing. You don't believe you're fallen and sinful. You believe that you're actually, really holy, and you're not. You're not. You're only holy by having the righteousness of Christ applied to you. Other than that, we still have our fallen, sinful human natures with us, and you don't believe that. The Orthodox absolutely don't believe that. So, let them go. Let them go into the wilderness and try to find a city with themselves, and we'll see what happens. It's not going to happen, but once again, let's end this video. It's been 10.5 minutes. This is the foolishness of modern-day orthodoxy, especially by these young guys like David. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're certainly not talking about Christianity. And that's it. That's it. Bye-bye.